Marco Rubio has just said something about Elon Musk that is sending shock across political and tech circles. A recent confrontation between the two has taken a dramatic turn, raising serious concerns about Musk's influence and decisions. What did Rubio reveal? Why is this statement causing such a stir? And how does it tie into Musk's growing controversies? Whether you support Musk or not, this latest development is impossible to ignore. Let's get into the details. Marc Rubio's terrifying message to Elon Musk. On March 6, 2025, a cabinet meeting in Washington, D.C. turned explosive as Secretary of State Marco Rubio and billionaire government efficiency czar Elon Musk locked horns over staffing cuts and bureaucratic control. The clash centered on Musk's aggressive push to shrink federal agencies and Rubio's defense of his department's restructuring efforts. Elon Musk, tasked by the White House to slash government spending through the Department of Government Efficiency, opened fire on Rubio by claiming the Secretary of State had done little to reduce his workforce. Musk pointedly criticized Rubio's track record, alleging he had fired nobody except a single DOGE staffer assigned to audit the State Department. This remark was a direct jab at Rubio's resistance to Musk's demands for mass layoffs. Musk's DOGE had already gained notoriety for abrupt terminations, including a botched attempt to fire hundreds of federal employees overnight, a move that led to lawsuits and forced rehirings. His criticism of Rubio implied the secretary was protecting bureaucrats instead of aligning with the administration's cost-cutting mission. Rubio, visibly angered, shot back with data. Over 1,500 State Department staffers had accepted early retirement buyouts or voluntary separations, effectively reducing his agency's headcount. He argued that these departures, while not outright firings, achieved the same goal of streamlining the workforce. To mock Musk's obsession with public displays of austerity, Rubio sarcastically asked, "Should I rehire them just so I can fire them again for your cameras?" The secretary's retort highlighted a philosophical divide. Rubio viewed buyouts as a less disruptive way to downsize, while Musk insisted on aggressive, visible cuts to signal a break from business as usual. As tensions escalated, Rubio began outlining his plans to reorganize the State Department, emphasizing diplomatic priorities and strategic partnerships. Musk interrupted, dismissing the secretary's efforts with a biting personal jab, "You're good on TV." The comment implied Rubio prioritized media appearances over substantive leadership, a low blow given Rubio's reputation as a polished communicator. The remark ignited murmurs in the room, with observers later calling the exchange awkward and personal. Rubio, known for his composure, did not back down, reiterating that his approach balanced efficiency with the State Department's global responsibilities. Behind the scenes, Rubio's frustration with Musk had been simmering for weeks. The flashpoint was DOGE's unilateral decision to dismantle the U.S. Agency for International Development, which Rubio believed fell under his jurisdiction as Secretary of State. Musk's team had moved to defund USAID, transfer its functions to private contractors, and lay off staff without consulting Rubio's office. This overreach left Rubio feeling sidelined and angry. USAID's dissolution not only weakened his oversight of foreign aid programs, but also undermined his authority as secretary. The cabinet meeting clash was, in part, Rubio's attempt to reclaim agency over his department's operations. Cabinet secretaries resented Musk's heavy-handed interference, viewing DOGE as a rogue operation that disregarded their expertise. Musk, meanwhile, saw agency leaders as obstacles to his mandate of eradicating waste. Rubio wasn't alone in pushing back. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy had earlier clashed with Musk over plans to lay off air traffic controllers, warning it would jeopardize aviation safety. Education Secretary Betsy DeVos also resisted DOGE's push to privatize student loan programs overnight, but Rubio's direct confrontation with Musk marked the most public escalation of this tension. During the meeting, Rubio emphasized that government restructuring couldn't mirror corporate downsizing. He argued diplomacy required institutional knowledge and stability, warning that Musk's slash-and-burn tactics risked crippling America's ability to respond to global crises. Reports suggest that Rubio expressed skepticism about running a country like a startup, seemingly referencing Musk's tendency for abrupt top-down decisions at companies like X. Musk, however, doubled down, insisting federal agencies were bloated with ghost employees and redundant roles. He cited DOGE's internal audits claiming the State Department could operate with 30% fewer staff, a figure Rubio dismissed as arbitrary. Rubio's sarcastic quip about rehiring employees to fire them again underscored his disdain for DOGE's performative approach. Weeks earlier, Musk had staged a televised firing spree at the Department of Commerce, terminating staff via email during a press conference. The stunt backfired when legal challenges forced Doge to reinstate dozens of workers, citing violations of federal labor protections. Rubio's mockery hinted at broader skepticism about Musk's understanding of government protocols. Unlike corporate layoffs, federal workforce reductions typically require advance notice, union negotiations, and compliance with civil service laws, nuances Musk's team allegedly ignored. The good-on-TV insult cut deep for Rubio, a seasoned politician who'd built his career on media savvy. Colleagues noted the secretary took pride in leveraging his communication skills to advance diplomatic goals, such as rallying NATO allies or negotiating aid packages. Musk's reduction of these efforts to TV talent struck Rubio as dismissive of diplomacy itself. Critics of Musk's approach argued that his focus on optics, like press conferences with stacks of cut employee badges, prioritized headlines over sustainable reform. Rubio's camp believed the secretary's quieter, negotiated departures achieved similar results without legal blowback or morale collapse. The clash ended without resolution, but its repercussions rippled across the administration. Rubio's allies praised his willingness to stand up to Musk, while Doge staffers accused the secretary of protecting bureaucrats. Meanwhile, federal employees' unions seized on the feud to rally opposition against Musk's policies, amplifying lawsuits over wrongful terminations. For Rubio, the confrontation was a strategic move to assert his department's independence. For Musk, it was a warning that even cabinet heavyweights would resist his disruptive methods. But the real question: where does Trump stand in all of this? Trump's stance on the situation. Donald Trump's immediate response to reports of a heated exchange between Elon Musk and Marco Rubio was to categorically deny any friction, framing the incident as a media fabrication. During a March 7, 2025, Oval Office press briefing, ostensibly held to sign an executive order establishing the White House task force for the 2026 FIFA World Cup, Trump erupted when an NBC reporter asked about the clash. Interrupting the question, he snapped. Without missing a beat, he doubled down, brushing off the reports entirely. Later that evening, Trump reinforced his denial on Truth Social in his signature all-caps style. Elon and Marco have a great relationship. Any statement other than that is fake news. This aggressive dismissal served multiple purposes. First, it was a deflection, as attacking the reporter's credibility and shifting focus to the World Cup allowed Trump to avoid addressing the substantive policy dispute. Second, it reinforced narrative control by branding the incident as fake news, further cementing his base's distrust of mainstream media, particularly outlets like NBC and the New York Times, which first reported the clash. Lastly, it acted as a form of loyalty enforcement, publicly declaring Musk and Rubio's relationship great and putting pressure on both men to avoid further public criticism of each other. Trump's hostility toward the press was further evident when he demanded the reporter identify their employer. "Who are you with?" and sneered, "NBC, no wonder." This mirrored his strategy of marginalizing critical media, exemplified earlier in 2025 when he revoked the Associated Press's press pool access for refusing to adopt his rebranding of the Gulf of Mexico as the Gulf of America. During the cabinet meeting, Trump initially observed the argument between Elon Musk and Marco Rubio in silence, arms folded, before stepping in to defend Rubio and subtly curb Musk's influence. When Musk accused Rubio of failing to fire State Department staff, Trump interrupted with measured praise for the Secretary of State, saying, "Marco, you're doing a great job." This endorsement served two strategic purposes. First, it validated Rubio's authority by acknowledging his efforts to streamline the State Department through 1,500 early retirement buyouts, directly countering Musk's claim that he had fired nobody. Second, it helped quell tensions by signaling that personal attacks on cabinet members would not be tolerated. Trump then moved to recalibrate Musk's role in the administration, stating, "Doge is only playing an advisory role." This basically meant that the secretaries make the final calls because it's their agencies. This statement marked a significant shift from Musk's initial mandate, which had granted the Department of Government Efficiency sweeping authority to cut federal staffing. The change followed growing backlash from agency heads, including Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, who had clashed with Musk over air traffic controller layoffs, and Republican lawmakers facing constituent anger over abrupt cuts. By reducing Doge to an advisory body, Trump achieved two key objectives. He protected cabinet autonomy, ensuring that secretaries retained final authority over staffing decisions, which appeased Rubio and other officials who resented Musk's overreach. At the same time, he shielded himself from potential legal and operational fallout, distancing his administration from the risk of lawsuits over wrongful terminations and the broader consequences of Musk's aggressive cost-cutting measures. In a Truth Social post following the meeting, Trump outlined a more moderate approach to federal workforce reductions. "We just had a meeting with most of the secretaries, Elon and others, and it was a very positive one." He went further, emphasizing the need for targeted cuts. "It's very important that we cut levels down to where they should be, but it's also important to keep the best and most productive people." He added that the secretaries would make the final calls. As the secretaries learn about and understand the people working for the various departments, they can be very precise as to who will remain and who will go. "We say the scalpel rather than the hatchet." This scalpel, not hatchet framing achieved several objectives. It walked back Musk's brash mass layoff approach, emphasizing surgical cuts instead of broad slashing. By stressing that agency heads would precisely decide staffing, Trump elevated their expertise over Musk's outsider perspective. The metaphor also allowed Trump to maintain his small government credentials while avoiding the chaos of Musk's methods. The doctrine was tested during a separate argument between Musk and Transportation Secretary Duffy. Musk and Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy clashed over FAA staffing, with Musk accusing the agency of prioritizing diversity hires over competence. Musk criticized the FAA, suggesting that hiring decisions were based on quotas rather than merit, which he believed contributed to inefficiencies in air traffic control. Duffy, however, cautioned that drastic layoffs could have serious consequences, arguing that cutting too many positions would lead to flight delays, overcrowded airports, and potential safety risks. Trump stepped in to mediate, suggesting that Duffy focus on hiring top talent from institutions like MIT. While he dismissed diversity-focused hiring initiatives, he also emphasized the need to ensure air traffic control remained fully staffed. His response tempered Musk's anti-woke stance with Duffy's operational concerns, ensuring the FAA remained functional while appeasing both sides. Behind the scenes, Trump worked to keep both Musk and Rubio aligned while maintaining control. He publicly praised Rubio's leadership while ensuring Musk's role remained influential, clarifying that agency heads had the final say on staffing. This move placed a clear limit on Musk's authority without sidelining him. The White House carefully shaped the public narrative, presenting the meeting as a unified effort to improve government efficiency. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt emphasized that everyone in Trump's cabinet was committed to identifying waste and fraud, working as a team to serve taxpayers. She dismissed media reports of division as attempts to undermine Trump's leadership, insisting that both Musk and Rubio were doing an incredible job in their roles. Trump reinforced this balance by stating that future cuts would be precise rather than extreme, signaling a controlled approach while still encouraging Musk's push for reform. By focusing on optics and messaging rather than direct conflict resolution, Trump kept both figures engaged while securing his own position as the ultimate decision-maker. To understand this better, let's take a look at Trump's history and relationship timeline with both Rubio and Musk. Trump's relationship with both. Donald Trump's relationships with Elon Musk and Marco Rubio reflect his strategy of balancing influence and control. Musk, the disruptor, and Rubio, the diplomat, often clash, but Trump keeps both in line through praise, intervention, and authority, ensuring they serve his broader agenda. Let's take a look at the history and dynamic between Trump and Marco Rubio. In 2016, Marco Rubio and Donald Trump were fierce competitors during the Republican presidential primaries. Rubio, then a rising star in the GOP, positioned himself as a fresh, policy-focused alternative to Trump's brash populism. Their rivalry turned personal. Trump mocked Rubio as Little Marco, while Rubio retaliated by questioning Trump's physical appearance and character, calling him a con artist and vulgar. The feud peaked when Rubio insinuated Trump had small hands, a jab that dominated headlines. Trump ultimately crushed Rubio in the Florida primary, effectively ending his 2016 campaign. After Trump's election, Rubio pivoted to support the new administration. Despite occasional criticisms, such as condemning Trump's response to the 2017 Charlottesville rally and voting to certify the 2020 election, Rubio aligned with Trump on key policies. He became a vocal advocate for Trump's hardline stance on Cuba and Venezuela and emerged as a leading China hawk, earning Trump's respect as a foreign policy voice. Rubio's ability to balance independence with loyalty allowed him to remain influential. By 2024, Rubio had fully embraced Trump's agenda. He campaigned vigorously for Trump, often appearing at rallies and defending him during controversies. Though Trump initially passed over Rubio as his running mate, choosing Choosing Ohio Senator J.D. Vance, their relationship deepened during the campaign's final months. Rubio's Spanish-language speeches and defense of Trump's coalition, particularly after a comedian's derogatory remarks about Puerto Rico, cemented his role as a bridge to Hispanic voters. Trump rewarded this loyalty by nominating Rubio as Secretary of State, a role that leverages Rubio's foreign policy expertise and political stature. Rubio's evolution from rival to ally shows Trump's preference for loyalty over past conflicts. Rubio's pragmatic shift, abandoning his earlier criticisms and aligning with Trump's America First agenda, mirrors the transformation of the GOP. His Senate experience and media savvy make him a strategic choice to represent Trump's foreign policy vision, despite lingering skepticism from some MAGA supporters about his interventionist past. Now, if we look at Trump's timeline with Elon, it gets interesting. Elon Musk's relationship with Trump began frostily. In 2016, Musk criticized Trump's candidacy, calling him unfit for office. However, he joined Trump's Economic Advisory Council post-election, aiming to influence climate and tech policies. This partnership collapsed in 2017 when Trump withdrew from the Paris Climate Agreement, prompting Musk to resign. The relationship soured further in 2022. After Musk expressed interest in buying Twitter, Trump dismissed him as a bullshit artist and claimed Musk had begged for his support during his presidency. Musk fired back, urging Trump to sail into the sunset and mocking his leadership style. Yet, Musk's acquisition of Twitter, now X, in late 2022, led to a pivotal moment. He reinstated Trump's banned account, citing free speech principles. Despite this, Trump remained loyal to his own platform, Truth Social. The July 2024 assassination attempt on Trump became a turning point. Musk swiftly endorsed Trump and pledged $45 million monthly to a pro-Trump super PAC. He campaigned alongside Trump, donning a dark MAGA hat and hosting a marathon live chat on X. Musk's financial clout and tech influence made him indispensable to Trump's comeback. Post-election, Trump appointed Musk to lead a Department of Government Efficiency, tasked with cutting federal spending, a role Musk embraced with his trademark grandiosity. Despite their alliance, cracks have emerged. Musk's outspokenness and policy disagreements, such as his support for H-1B visas, have irked Trump and other MAGA loyalists. Reports suggest Trump is growing annoyed with Musk's visibility, quipping he's not taking the presidency. Yet their bond remains strong. Musk rented a cottage at Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate post-election and attended SpaceX launches with him. Musk's alliance with Trump is transactional. For Trump, Musk's wealth, media platform, and tech credibility offer legitimacy and resources. For Musk, aligning with Trump provides political leverage to advance his business interests and deregulation goals. Their relationship thrives on mutual opportunism, though it remains fragile due to their oversized egos. Trump's relationships with Marco Rubio and Elon Musk reveal his strategy of co-opting former rivals to consolidate power. Rubio symbolizes the GOP's transformation into a Trump-centric party where loyalty outweighs past disagreements. Musk represents the fusion of tech titans with populist politics, where money and media control dictate influence. Elon has always been part of controversies and bold moments, and it's not the first time of him getting involved in something like this. Elon's pattern of controversial interactions. Elon Musk is one of the most influential figures in modern technology and business, but his interactions with politics and politicians have made headlines just as often as his ventures. His approach is direct, sometimes confrontational, and often unpredictable. Whether it's clashing with government officials, engaging in political debates, or making controversial statements about global events, Musk has built a reputation for being a wild card in the political landscape. One of Musk's most notable political clashes was with Senator Elizabeth Warren, who accused him of not paying his fair share of taxes. Musk responded with personal attacks, calling her Senator Karen and dismissing her criticisms as baseless. This wasn't just a one-off exchange. Over the years, Musk has criticized political figures from both sides, sometimes aligning with conservative views on regulatory issues while also supporting liberal causes like renewable energy. His shifting positions have made him difficult to pin down, but they have also fueled controversy. Another major political moment came when Musk moved Tesla's headquarters from California to Texas, openly criticizing California's regulatory policies. He labeled the state's restrictions as excessive and even clashed with lawmakers over pandemic lockdown measures. Musk was particularly vocal about government-mandated shutdowns, calling them fascist and arguing that they infringed on personal freedoms. His frustration with government interference extended beyond just business regulations. He has frequently spoken against subsidies, despite his own companies benefiting from them, and has called for reduced government influence in various sectors. Musk's involvement in international politics has been just as controversial. He inserted himself into the Russia-Ukraine conflict by offering Starlink internet services to Ukraine, but later suggested a peace plan that many perceived as pro-Russian. His proposal suggesting Ukraine should cede Crimea to Russia and hold referendums in occupied territories was met with strong backlash from Ukrainian officials and even US politicians. Similarly, his comments on Taiwan, where he proposed making it a special administrative zone similar to Hong Kong, were met with criticism from both Chinese and Taiwanese officials. His willingness to weigh in on geopolitical matters has sparked debates over whether a billionaire CEO should have such a significant influence in global affairs. Musk's political controversies also extend to his statements about voting and elections. He has gone from donating to Democratic candidates in the past to actively supporting Republican figures in recent years. He even stated that he would vote for a Republican president in the upcoming elections, breaking from his previous neutrality. His endorsement of controversial figures and his statements about the media's role in shaping political narratives have further positioned him as a divisive figure in political circles. But Musk's controversies are not limited to politics and politicians. His confrontational style extends to business, social issues, and even his own employees. His management of Twitter, now X, has been a source of non-stop controversy. After acquiring the platform, Musk fired a large percentage of its staff, removed content moderation policies, and reinstated banned accounts, including those of high-profile figures accused of spreading misinformation. His stance on free speech absolutism has led to concerns about hate speech and misinformation flourishing under his leadership. Some advertisers have pulled out, and critics argue that Musk is prioritizing personal beliefs over responsible platform management. In the tech industry, Musk's clashes with fellow billionaires and executives are well documented. He has publicly feuded with Jeff Bezos, mocking Amazon's space efforts and accusing the company of attempting to block SpaceX's progress. His disputes with Apple's Tim Cook over App Store policies led to Musk briefly suggesting he might create his own smartphone. He has even taken shots at Bill Gates, dismissing his environmental efforts while ridiculing his short positions against Tesla stock. Musk's workplace controversies are just as significant. Reports of extreme work conditions at Tesla and SpaceX have surfaced multiple times, with former employees describing grueling hours, a harsh work environment, and pressure to meet unrealistic expectations. Additionally, allegations of racial discrimination at Tesla's Fremont factory led to a lawsuit that resulted in a multi-million-dollar settlement. Another major controversy revolves around Musk's promises and delivery. Over the years, he has made ambitious claims like launching a Mars colony by the 2020s, achieving full self-driving Tesla cars, and developing brain chips with Neuralink that will cure paralysis. While some of these projects are making progress, others have faced delays, safety concerns, or outright failure. His tendency to make bold statements without concrete follow-ups has led to skepticism even among his supporters. Take Tesla's full self-driving technology as an example. Musk has been promising fully autonomous vehicles for years, yet Tesla cars still require driver oversight, and the software has faced multiple regulatory and legal challenges. In some cases, crashes involving Tesla's self-driving features have resulted in lawsuits, further putting Musk's promises into question. His Mars colonization plans with SpaceX have also faced scrutiny. While SpaceX has made advancements in reusable rocket technology, the timeline for human missions to Mars keeps getting pushed back. Critics argue that Musk's tendency to make exaggerated claims is part of his strategy to generate hype and secure funding. Musk's controversies aren't just professional, they extend into his personal life as well. His relationships, including the one with musician Grimes, have played out in the media, with legal battles over child custody making headlines. Musk has fathered multiple children with different partners, and his comments on population decline have sparked debates about his personal views on family and reproduction. He has also drawn criticism for his handling of pronoun discussions and making dismissive remarks about gender identity issues, which led to backlash from LGBTQ+ communities. His tweet saying, "Pronouns suck," was met with criticism, even from those close to him. His daughter, who is transgender, publicly distanced herself from him, stating she did not want to be associated with him anymore. Even his sense of humor has landed him in trouble. Musk has frequently tweeted memes and jokes that critics say are offensive or inappropriate for someone of his influence. His decision to smoke marijuana on Joe Rogan's podcast led to an investigation by NASA, which has contracts with SpaceX. It also resulted in Tesla's stock temporarily dipping. Despite all of this, Musk remains one of the most admired and influential figures in the world. His companies continue to push technological boundaries, and his fan base sees him as a visionary who disrupts industries and challenges norms. His defenders argue that his unconventional approach is necessary to break through bureaucratic red tape and push humanity forward. However, his pattern of controversial interactions, whether in politics, business, or social matters, shows no signs of slowing down. Some investors worry that his behavior is a liability, particularly when his personal views and political stances impact the stock prices of Tesla and SpaceX. Others believe that his outspoken nature is part of his genius, allowing him to challenge conventional thinking and accelerate progress. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed watching this video, click on one of the boxes playing on your screen to watch more similar content. Just when you thought Canada was all maple syrup and polite apologies, Justin Trudeau decided to roll up his sleeves and throw some punches back after Trump's tariff threats. Trudeau isn't playing nice anymore.
We're insulted. We're angry. But we're Canadian, which means we're going to stand up for each other. We're going to fight. And we're going to win.
But hold up, it's not just politics. Canadians on the street aren't exactly thrilled either.
I'm not ready to pay 1 cent more. Already prices are high.
Looks like Trudeau's not alone in this fight. Let's see how Trudeau's bold move might shake things up even more. Trump hits Canada with tariffs. US President Donald Trump just made life a little harder for American wallets. On Tuesday, he started charging a new 25% tariff on imports from Mexico and Canada. He also hit China with extra tariffs. So now, we're officially in trade war territory. Why is Trump shaking things up like this? He says Mexico, Canada, and China haven't done enough to stop fentanyl, a dangerous drug, from coming into America. To him, tariffs are payback time. Trump told Congress, other countries have used tariffs against us for decades, and now it's our turn. He even promised more tariffs starting April 2nd. But here's the catch. This trade fight affects a massive $2.2 trillion worth of goods every year. That means prices at your favorite stores are likely to jump higher. And that's not great news for Americans who are already fed up with rising prices. China isn't backing down either. They fired back with a strong message. If war is what the US wants, be it a tariff war, a trade war, or any other type of war, we're ready to fight till the end. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick is still hopeful, though. He told reporters there might be some room for compromise with Mexico and Canada. The US talked with both countries all day, trying to reach a deal. Donald Trump has his own special way of fixing problems. If you ask him why he's putting huge tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and China, he'll say it's all about drugs, trade, and fairness. But mostly, it's about proving he's not running the stupid country anymore. Trump explained it like this. Last year, Customs and Border Protection seized enough fentanyl to kill every American 20 times over. He blamed Mexico and Canada for not doing their job to keep these drugs out. The White House insists it only manages to stop a fraction of the dangerous drugs sneaking in. So, Trump decided it was time for tough action. But is this tariff battle really about protecting America, or is Trump just angry about losing money? He complained, the USA has major deficits with Canada, Mexico, and China, and almost all countries, owes $36 trillion, and we're not going to be the stupid country any longer. Sounds like he's a bit annoyed, doesn't it? Trump then bragged about how important America's market is to other countries. Trade accounts for 67% of Canada's GDP, 73% of Mexico's GDP, and 37% of China's GDP, but only 24% of US GDP, he pointed out. In other words, these countries need America more than America needs them, at least according to Trump. He admitted his tariffs might cause some pain, but insists it will all be worth it. The question is, worth it for who exactly? If we take a closer look, even federal prison could not stop one drug boss from running his network. In June 2024, Jesus Amurahabi Celestine Ortega was indicted for drug trafficking. trafficking. He was already locked up in Florence, Colorado for other crimes. That did not stop him. He had a smuggled phone and kept business running from behind bars. He was moving meth, heroin, and fentanyl across the country. His network reached North Dakota, Minnesota, California, Colorado, Georgia, Missouri, Texas, and Arizona. He was not just selling drugs. He was also moving drug money from the US to Mexico. Now he and 8 others are facing life in prison for drug charges. The money laundering charges could add another 20 years. Drug networks reach everywhere. They run from prisons. They move money across borders. Now they have even taken over daycares. In September 2023, Nicholas Feliz Dominici was dropped off at Divino Niño Daycare in the Bronx. He never made it home. The 22-month-old was exposed to fentanyl and died. 3 other children were poisoned but survived. The person running the daycare, Gray Mendez, had another business. She was running a drug operation right under the kids' feet. Law enforcement found over 11 kilograms of fentanyl and heroin hidden under the playroom floor. That much fentanyl could kill 500,000 people. Mendez was caught. She was sentenced to 45 years in prison after pleading guilty to drug charges. But that does not erase what happened. A daycare should be a safe place. Instead, it became a drug den. This is not the first time Trump has played hardball with tariffs. He believes making things more expensive forces other countries to listen. He has done it with China. He has done it with Mexico. Now it is Canada's turn. He thinks hitting their wallets will make them take drug smuggling more seriously. His biggest push is getting Ukraine to hand over $500 billion worth of rare earth minerals. He says if Ukraine wants help, they need to start giving back. He does not like how Zelensky is playing the game. He even called him a dictator, which did not sit well with other world leaders. But Trump does not care about that. He only cares about deals. Trudeau fires back. The drug war is not just about smugglers and border security. It is now tangled up in politics, and Canada is not backing down. Trump slapped a 25% tariff on Canadian imports, saying Canada needs to do more to stop drugs. But Justin Trudeau is not sitting quietly.
We're insulted, and we're angry, but we're Canadian, which means we're going to stand up for each other, we're going to fight, and we're going to win.
He says Donald Trump's new trade war is just a dumb plan to wreck Canada's economy. Trudeau thinks Trump wants Canada to fail so badly that the US can easily take over. Trudeau made these bold claims right after Trump slammed Canada and Mexico with a huge tariffs. Trump even put an extra 10% charge on Canada's energy exports. Trudeau quickly fought back with new taxes aimed at American products. In his speech, Trudeau reminded Canadians, "We've been in tough spots before, but we have not only survived, we have emerged stronger than ever, because when it comes to defending our great nation, there is no price we all aren't willing to pay, and today is no different." This is all happening as Trudeau gets ready to step down. His party will pick a new leader this Sunday. Before leaving, Trudeau warned that fighting between allies is exactly what Canada's enemies want. He pointed out how strange it is that Trump attacks Canada but acts friendly toward Russia and its leader, Vladimir Putin. Trump keeps making jokes about Canada joining the US, but Trudeau said that's never going to happen. To hit back,
The one thing he has said repeatedly, that what he wants is to see a total collapse of the Canadian economy, because that'll make it easier to annex us, is the second half of his thought. Now, first of all, that's never going to happen. We will never be the 51st state.
Canada will tax $107 billion worth of American goods coming into the country. The first taxes start right away on $30 billion of goods. Taxes on the rest will begin in 3 weeks, giving Canadian companies time to prepare. Trudeau didn't just talk to Canadians, though. He spoke directly to Americans, too. He said, "We don't want to see you hurt, but your government has chosen to do this to you. As of this morning, markets are down, and inflation is set to rise dramatically all across your country. Your government has chosen to put American jobs at risk at the thousands of workplaces that succeed because of materials from Canada or because of consumers in Canada." Then Trudeau turned directly to Trump himself.
Now, it's not in my habit to agree with the Wall Street Journal, but Donald, they point out that even though you're a very smart guy, this is a very dumb thing to do.
Donald Trump says he put big tariffs on Canada because they weren't stopping fentanyl from entering the US, but Justin Trudeau called Trump's reason completely bogus, completely unjustified, completely false. In reality, very little fentanyl comes into the US from Canada. It's so small that the US Drug Agency didn't even mention Canada in a big report from 2020. Still, Trump doubled down. He jumped on social media to warn Canada that any payback from them would mean even tougher moves from America, because Because nothing says friendship like threats on social media, right? Trump's tough approach ended up uniting Canadians like never before. Leaders from all sides are now standing strong together against the US. Doug Ford, who runs Ontario, Canada's richest province, stepped up in a big way. He promised to make sure Americans feel pain if Trump's taxes keep going. Ford plans to charge a huge 25% tax on electricity going to 3 American states. Ford didn't stop there. He took American wines and spirits off the shelves in Ontario. He also banned US companies from bidding on government jobs. And to show he was really serious, Ford even tore up a deal with Elon Musk's Starlink company. Ford said he felt terrible about these moves since he has good friends among American governors, but he insisted he had no choice. The US government needed to get the message loud and clear. Ford had a little fun. He said Trump's tariffs would send America's stock market downhill faster than their bobsled team. When the market drops, that's the people speaking. Isn't this a shame? Every country is very aware that if the American government is willing to do this to their own closest neighbor, ally, and friend, everyone is vulnerable to a trade war, Ford said, pointing out the cost of Trump's decisions. He finished by reminding everyone that if America could turn on its closest friend like Canada, no country was safe from Trump's trade war. The longer Trump's tariffs last, the worse things look for Canada. If Trump keeps pushing, things could go from bad to awful really fast. François Legault, who leads Quebec, is already sounding the alarm. He warned that his province might lose up to 160,000 jobs in just a few months. Legault isn't just worried, he's angry. He wants Trump to pay the price for choices that don't even make sense for Americans. Tim Houston, leader of Nova Scotia, didn't hold back either, called Trump short-sighted, and said Trump is just throwing his power around because he can. After the tariffs kicked in, Houston described the situation as pure chaos for Canadians. Next door, Newfoundland and Labrador took quick action too. The government there ordered liquor stores to remove all American products right away. Andrew Furey, the province's leader, asked people to buy local Canadian products more than ever. Even Alberta's tough-talking leader Danielle Smith spoke up. She's usually friendly to American oil buyers, but this time she called Trump's move an unjustifiable economic attack on Canadians. She said it was foolish and a total failure. Clearly, Trump's new taxes haven't just stirred up anger, they've united Canadians from all sides against him. Trump versus Trudeau, a long-time feud. Justin Trudeau is standing strong against Trump's latest taxes, but these two aren't new to fighting. They've spent years trading insults, throwing public punches, and fighting over trade.
Canada's been very abusive of the United States for many years.
Some people think Trump still holds a grudge because his hotels in Canada flopped. Maybe losing money there made him cranky toward Canada forever. Others on social media have another funny theory. They point to a 2019 photo from a big meeting in France. In it, Trudeau seemed about to kiss Trump's wife, Melania. Was Trump annoyed that Canada's Prime Minister looked charming next to the First Lady? Maybe Trump's jealousy is behind all these new taxes. Whatever the reason, Trump seems extra annoyed with Canada lately. Canada is famous for being nice, so Trump's harsh treatment feels strange. It has thrown Canadian politics into a mess. People are confused and frustrated about why Trump picks fights with one of America's best friends. Even Stephen Moore, who once advised Trump, is puzzled. Moore said, "I can't quite figure it out." He knows Trump and Trudeau don't get along. With Trump, he said, everything feels personal, and Moore is right. Back in 2018, after a big meeting in Quebec, Trump called Trudeau very dishonest and weak on social media. Trump accused Trudeau of lying and even threatened to put extra taxes on cars coming from Canada. Trump's team jumped in too. Peter Navarro, one of his top advisors, said there was a special place in hell for leaders like Trudeau. That line shocked people. Navarro later apologized, but the damage was done. Trade was always a big fight between them. Donald Trump has always had a thing about Canadian dairy farms. You'd think he has a personal grudge against every cow north of the border, but what's the real reason Trump hates Canadian milk so much? It all goes back to one number Trump loves to throw around: a 270% tariff that Canada charges on American dairy. He tweeted about it back in 2018 and hasn't stopped bringing it up since. That number sounds crazy, and Trump knows exactly how to make it sound like Canada is robbing American farmers blind. Here's the catch though. Canada does charge super high taxes on imported dairy products, but Canada isn't picking on America only. They charge those high taxes to everyone. It's their way of protecting their own dairy farmers. But Trump can't stand these protections. For him, it's all unfair. He believes Canada is cheating cheating American farmers out of money, and that makes him angry. After all, Trump hates losing money, especially when it's his voters losing it. Things got even worse in 2019 at a NATO summit in London. A short video appeared on Twitter, thanks to Canada's CBC, showing Justin Trudeau having a little gossip session with other world leaders. Trudeau seemed relaxed, talking casually like someone at lunch with friends, not like a prime minister at a big event. In the video, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson was there, alongside French leader Emmanuel Macron.
I'm keeping.
Trudeau joked about Trump, saying Macron was late because Trump turned a quick chat into a 40-minute press event. He laughed, saying Trump's staff looked shocked by whatever he said. We didn't get the whole story, though, since loud noises in the room blocked Macron's words, but the damage was done. Trump quickly fired back, clearly annoyed. He responded, "He's two-faced. I find him to be a nice guy, but the truth is I called him out on the fact that he's not paying 2% of national GDP towards defense, and I guess he's not very happy about it." After feeling the heat, Trudeau tried to fix things. He told everyone the leaders weren't laughing at Trump's speech. Instead, they were just chatting about Camp David, the place for the next G7 meeting. Then, Trudeau insisted everything was totally fine between him and Trump. "I have a very good relationship with Trump," he promised. But after all these comments, some Canadians probably rolled their eyes a bit. By 2024 was taking the feud to a whole new level. He called Justin Trudeau the governor of the great state of Canada. Trump made fun of Trudeau after he threatened Canada with heavy taxes on trade. Late at night, Trump posted on his social media, "I look forward to seeing the governor again soon, so that we may continue our in-depth talks on tariffs and trade, the results of which will be truly spectacular for all." Trudeau's office didn't say anything back right away. Maybe they're still trying to think of a clever comeback. Trump has been joking lately that Canada should just join America as its 51st state. He even suggested it right to Trudeau's face during a dinner they had recently. Trump thinks the US loses too much money on trade with Canada and Mexico. He says America pays Canada more than $100 billion every year, and Mexico even more. Trump asked, "Why are we subsidizing these countries?" For Trump, trade is simple. He thinks if other countries are making money, America must be losing. Trudeau didn't respond to Trump's jab right away, but he's probably busy thinking up ways to fight back. He did promise Canada would hit the US with its own tariffs. Trudeau's office stayed quiet when asked for a reaction to Trump's teasing. How this tariff war could shake up the economy. Donald Trump's trade war is hitting hard, and the stock market isn't liking it one bit.
Well, look, there's no question that Warren Buffett is right, that if you just raise tariffs across the board, then things will be more expensive. There's very little doubt about that. So Warren Buffett is right.
After Trump threw his new taxes at Canada, Mexico, and China, the markets went into free fall. The S&P 500 sank by more than 1%. The Dow dropped by over 300 points. And the Nasdaq, it lost almost 500 points. It looks like investors aren't loving Trump's great new plan. These new tariffs aren't small either. They hit about $1.4 trillion worth of goods. That's a lot of stuff from Canada, Mexico, and China. Experts say prices for cars, food, and many everyday things will shoot way up. Good news though, Trump promised the pain would only be temporary. He even thinks Americans won't mind a little short-term chaos, very comforting, but people who study money disagree. They think prices on groceries and cars will jump fast. They also worry thousands of Americans could lose their jobs because of this trade war. Trudeau himself warned Americans that Trump's tariffs mean higher prices for food, gas, and cars. And what did China do when Trump started playing rough? They slapped their own taxes right back on America. Starting March 10th, US chicken, pork, soybeans, and beef will cost even more in China. They're also punishing 15 American companies, stopping them from doing business in China. It's like a giant game of who can tax the hardest, and nobody's winning. Trump's attitude about all this is pretty casual. He brushed off the problems by saying there could be some temporary short-term disruption. In other words, just a little trouble. No big deal, right? But economists say it's not just a little trouble. Trump's decisions could really hurt America's economy. The big question now is how far he'll take this fight and how much regular people will end up paying for it. Economist Eswar Prasad says Trump's tariff plan creates an enormous amount of uncertainty for companies. Big companies hate surprises. They plan carefully and need to know what to expect next. Trump's sudden moves have thrown their plans upside down. Prasad warned that this uncertainty might stop companies from growing or even hiring new workers. Douglas Irwin, an expert on trade, pointed out another big problem. He said, past trade agreements simply don't mean much if the president can unilaterally violate them and impose tariffs with no checks at all. Basically, Trump just ripped up the rules he made himself 5 years years ago. Now even his own trade deals can't be trusted. To make things even weirder, Trump's new tariffs came suddenly. Last time, he took time to investigate before acting, but this time, Trump just declared a national emergency and made the tariffs happen right away. His reason? Protecting America from drugs and immigration. But many experts think that reason feels weak at best. Businesses are confused too. Gregory Husishin, a trade lawyer, said companies are nervous about the future. He explained, "I've talked to multiple companies that are saying, we're not moving forward with any investment. We need this to be settled." Trump's unpredictable decisions mean companies don't know how to plan. But it's not just big companies feeling dizzy from Trump's tariff roller coaster. Small businesses are feeling it too. The confusion is everywhere, and companies have no clue what's coming next. The Institute for Supply Management asked companies how they felt about Trump's latest moves. Turns out, they're not exactly thrilled. One transportation company complained customers are pausing on new orders as a result of uncertainty regarding tariffs. In simple terms, no one wants to order anything new until Trump figures out what he's doing next. And the hits just keep coming. Taylor Samuels owns a bar and restaurant in Dallas called Las Almas Rotas. He buys most of his alcohol from Mexico. Now, Trump's tariff chaos has thrown his plans into question. He wanted to build a new restaurant soon, but now he's unsure if he can afford it. That construction budget is now under review and may likely be delayed, he explained. Over in Chicago, Sandhya Dandamudi sells stone for projects, including the Obama Presidential Center. Developers make budgets years in advance, but Trump's sudden tariffs weren't part of their plans. Those budgets will be blown, she said. Small businesses like hers could lose contracts or even shut down. Then there's Holly Ciderwand, who runs First Fill Spirits in Saratoga Springs, New York. She planned to nearly double the size of her shop in 2025, but Trump's tariffs forced her to press pause. "We have no plans of adding more shelving or space for new items," she admitted. "This will delay the growth of our business, making us a bit stagnant." It's not just bars and stone suppliers feeling squeezed by Trump's tariffs. Small shops in places like San Francisco's Chinatown are hurting too. Edward Lau runs Elysian Enterprises in San Francisco's Chinatown. Trump's 10% tariffs on Chinese goods have forced him to raise prices. Many of Lau's customers are elderly and on fixed incomes. He's worried the community, still recovering from the pandemic, will suffer even more if tariffs double. And if city stores aren't enough, farmers in the Midwest aren't having much fun either. Barb Kalbach from Iowa is feeling the stress too. China and Mexico are responding to Trump's tariffs by taxing American crops like corn and soybeans. Kalbach fears these tariffs will drop crop prices further, putting farmers already struggling with losses in even deeper trouble. So while Trump talks big about teaching other countries a lesson, small business owners and farmers across America wonder why they're the ones paying the price. People have lots of opinions about Trump's new moves. Some think his rules will help the economy. Others, like financial expert Darius Dale, aren't so sure. Darius Dale is the CEO of 42 Macro. He believes Trump's current approach could slow down the economy much faster than most expect. In an interview, Dale explained clearly,
"One of the things that our grid model has been signaling for months now is that U.S. economic growth is likely to slow and actually slow faster than consensus expects." So that's new. That's different from where we've been for most of the past 2+ years. And
before Trump's second term began, Dale's models showed steady growth. But now, thanks to Trump's tough measures, they're seeing something very different. Dale even thinks Trump might be hurting the economy on purpose, trying to reset it to match his own plans. Dale sees Trump acting a bit like Ronald Reagan did years ago. When Reagan first took office, the economy took a big hit. His bold moves shook things up, leading to some pain before any improvements. Dale calls this kitchen sinking, describing it like this.
They're essentially trying to transition from a demand side economy and fiscal policy to a supply side economy and fiscal policy. And that process could potentially be painful, at least in the short term. And this is exactly what we saw when Ronald Reagan became president.
When Reagan first became president, stocks fell hard and the US economy slid into recession. But after this tough start, things eventually got better. Many think Trump is now following Reagan's risky strategy, making things worse first, hoping they'll improve later. Trump's no negotiation stand on tariffs with Canada and Mexico makes the whole thing even scarier. The moment Trump returned to the White House, the market became a roller coaster. At first, investors were hopeful. They thought Trump might bring big tax cuts and fewer rules, but soon he began talking tough tariffs and strict immigration laws, making investors nervous. They quickly began selling off stocks, worried about what might come next. Now, nobody knows exactly what will happen. Will Trump's big gamble pay off, leading to a stronger market later, or will all this confusion drag America into economic trouble for years? Financial experts are split. Some think Trump's approach will cause lasting damage and chaos. Others see mixed signals, unsure what Trump is really trying to do. Many investors still still think Republicans like Trump are good for the market because they're known to support business-friendly rules, but Trump's moves have everyone scratching their heads. One thing is certain, whatever Trump does next, it will shape America's financial future for years. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, check out the suggested content on your screen by clicking one of the cards displayed.